So when you consider the breaking news about these criminal referrals, on top of Republicans' poor performance in the midterms, and on top of the now infamous Mar-a-Lago dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, and on top of the mountain of other BS Donald Trump has dragged the GOP through, you might think to yourself, they're finally going to be done with him. Not so fast, Grasshopper. Last week, I sat down with Politico to explain why I think the Republican Party just can't seem to quit the guy. They just can't get over Trump. And it's not just Trump, but it's also his loyalists like Ronna McDaniel, even after they've lost big at the ballot box. And that's because from the national level down to the state party organizations, it's the MAGA strain of republicanism that's become dominant. It's now standard practice in the GOP to change the rules, to work to overturn elections, to call an insurrection a political discourse. And unfortunately, I don't see that changing anytime soon until Republicans, well, start acting like Republicans again and get tired of losing. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Annie Kuster of New Hampshire. She's chair-elect of the New Democrat Coalition. Welcome, Congresswoman. It's good to see you.
Great to be with you, Michael. Thanks so much for having me.
So I want to get your reaction to the breaking news on the January 6th committee. What do you make of the recommended charges and that they're proposing against Donald Trump? And do you see an impact from all of this?
Well, first, I want to say I was a victim, a witness, and a survivor of the January 6th insurrection. I was in the gallery in the House of Representatives and one of the last to be evacuated. So I'm so grateful to our colleagues for everything that they did. Hours and hours and hours of painstaking work, thousands of depositions, getting to the bottom of this case, and now they're ready to make their referrals. And I think the American people will respond. Certainly, the hearings that they had last July had a big impact on the results of the election in November. The voters rejected Republican extremism, and what they're looking for is more of a mainstream approach. And so that's why I'm proud to be leading the New Democrat Coalition. We're the ones that will get the job done and work with reasonable Republicans to move our country forward.
What do you make of the possible ethics violations for members of Congress? Is that an appropriate recommendation for their failure to comply with subpoenas?
Absolutely. You know, as members of Congress, we take an oath to abide by the law. The subpoenas were lawful. They were instructing members of Congress to provide documents and testimony. They were ignored, and I think it's perfectly appropriate for our Ethics Committee.
I want to get your take on this current strain of the GOP. You heard my take on it. In my view, the MAGA strain, for example, has become dominant. And it seems the only way that's going to change is if Republicans keep losing for a while. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's what we saw here in New Hampshire. We had a resoundingly successful election, 2 House seats. I won by 12 points, Chris Pappas by 8 points, Maggie Hassan for U.S. Senate by 10 points. The voters here rejected our extreme Republican opponents, who were all 3 Trump Republicans. And they are very, very clear that they want people to take a much more proactive approach to working across the aisle and to solving America's serious problems. And I look forward to doing that in the 118th Congress. I've already reached out to my counterpart, Dave Joyce. And as I say, as the leader of the New Democrat Coalition, we're the can-do caucus, and we're the ones that will get the job done. Right now, we're working frantically the last few days of the session here to pass major bipartisan mental health and addiction legislation. That passed the House 420 to 20. So, 400 to 20, excuse me. And so, you know, we want to make sure that we do come together. Another example, Michael, is the NDAA, the defense authorization. 350 members, 176 Republicans, 174 Democrats came together to pass that bill. And so that's what the American people want. They want us to work together and get the job done. And they're ready to reject this extremism from the MAGA Republicans.
You've referenced your newly elected role as leader of the New Democrat coalition, that Can Do caucus. How do you see that caucus working with Republicans in the House? How do you brand that caucus's work outside of the Congress so that the American people can get behind that can-do attitude and actually push, which I think they should, to get the Congress to actually accomplish something in the next session?
Well, thank you. It's conversations like this, telling people we are 96 Democrats. We are from those purple districts where we defeated MAGA Republicans, 22 frontline members who were in tough districts that made it back are New Democrats, and 17 brand new members of Congress for the 118th who are New Democrats as well. And 7 of those flip seats, these are new Democratic members. So we are the ones that will bring back the majority for Democrats in 2024. But in the meantime, we'll work with anyone or stand up to anyone as is necessary. And there's any number of issues. We're already working with Republicans on immigration reform. We've got a bill about farm workers. I work on immigration and also climate change with a colleague from Utah as co-chairs of the Bipartisan Ski Caucus. So we look for any opportunity to find common ground. I mentioned mental health and addiction, climate. So all of these issues, and of course we have the Farm Bill coming up, and that's a very bipartisan process. And I serve on the Agriculture Committee as well and look forward to that process.
Well, I appreciate that ski caucus. You know, you gotta get that ski on. But before I let you go, I want to get a little bit more into the political weeds a bit and get your thoughts on the possible shakeup of the Democratic Party primary calendar ahead of 2024. President Biden's plan would strip New Hampshire of its first-in-the-nation primary status. I have to admit, I'm going to tell you, I'm straight up biased about this. I applaud this. I've been for some time now, even as national chairman, advocating these types of changes to our primary system, which I think has grown stagnant and actually foments a lot of the extremism. But that's me, not you. What can you tell us about your thoughts on this, and what is the case to be made for keeping the system the way it is?
Well, I'm not opposed to change, Michael, and I think you know that Iowa will drop out of the first caucus spot. What I think is it's a complex puzzle with a simple solution. It's not an either or, it's a both and solution. And what that's about is that, of course, we want to lean in and welcome the participation of Black voters and Latino voters to our process and make sure they get heard early in the process. But I continue to believe that New Hampshire has a unique position. We're a small state. You don't have to be wealthy or famous to run for president here. You can have normal conversations with hairdressers and truck drivers and teachers and police, just people in diners and town halls all across the state. And I think it served us well. Just look at Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama. I was on the Barack Obama campaign. He used to tease me before Michelle was on board. And he went to those town hall meetings, talked to voters in their living rooms, and I think he improved as a candidate. And I've said to President Biden, look, I'm a big fan. He's just had an extraordinary 2-year session of Congress and everything that he's done for the American people. I told him, come to New Hampshire. You will win handily. You will clear the field. And so he has nothing to be afraid of. And I think New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada, 1, 2, 3, would serve our party very, very well.
All righty. Congresswoman Annie Kuster of New Hampshire, thank you so much. It's good to see you.